as addictive as your morning cuppa. It's Radio 44's Morning Fix with Bhargav and Radhika.
Good morning and welcome to Trial Tuesdays. What are we talking about, Bhargav?
It's all about alternative dispute resolution with CMS Daly Inamdar. We are going to be joined via Zoom by Abdulhafeez Noorani and Gibran Darr from CMS Daly Inamdar.
That's right. So if ADR is something you've been looking at, then this is the show for you. Even if you don't know anything about ADR, this is the time to learn. Good morning. Trial Tuesdays is in session.
What a tune this is. It's a vibe. It's a vibe on its own. And this is the only song I feel Salman Khan can dance to.
Oh, he totally vibed. Thank you. Finally, you've redeemed my favorite person. There we go. Thanks, Bhargav.
Let's go back to Trial Tuesdays. Today we are joined via Zoom by Abdulhafeez Noorani and Gibran Darr from CMS Daly Inamdar, and we are all about alternative dispute resolution. We've heard this ADR word thrown around. So Abdulhafeez, can you please explain what exactly is ADR?
Okay, so ADR stands for Alternative Dispute Resolution. It's basically resolving of disputes by a method other than going to court. Going to court is the usual way that people know, but there are many other methods in which you can use, you can resolve your dispute, and that classifies as ADR. The Constitution of Kenya recognizes ADR as a means of dispute resolution and expressly requires the courts to promote its use and application. There are many forms of ADR, but the most common ones you'll find are negotiation, arbitration, and mediation. Those are the words you'll hear most often with regard to ADR.
ADR, actually, it's become a little bit of a buzzword nowadays. You hear it thrown around everywhere, especially when you're embroiled in a matter. Gibran, maybe you can tell us why there's this sudden emphasis on ADR in particular.
Yeah, thanks, Radhika. I mean, I think for a long time now, parties or people, don't want to go to court, understandably, because it can be expensive, it can be time consuming, and world over, I think now people are realizing that rather than have a dispute decided in court where one winner will probably take all, and that will certainly be after a long period of time. We'll have a lot of procedure involved, a lot of lawyers, a lot of judges with gowns focusing on procedure. ADR has an approach where it's more party driven. So the parties themselves set the agenda. The idea is a quicker resolution to a dispute and driven by the parties themselves. And of course, another important aspect is it's less formal. It's less intimidating than being in a court before a judge. You're either before an arbitrator or a mediator. Less formal setting, less jargon. The parties are able to understand there's less legal jargon. So that's the reason why we have this emphasis.
Also, Gibran, I don't know if this is correct to say, but I think ADR also has an impact on the relationships.
Yep.
We find that people who've gone through ADR aren't fighting. They're not bitter. That's what we think, but Gibran, you're the expert, so maybe you can tell us, are we right to say this, or how does it go?
Absolutely, Radhika. I think especially with family disputes, sometimes marriage and divorce, family disputes, succession, ADR goes a long way in resolving disputes and keeping the relationships. So you're right to say that, Radhika.
There we go. You've learned all the basics with us of ADR.
ADR, yes.
But we still have to jump into a lot of the details. So keep it here. This is Trial Tuesdays with CMS Daly Inamdar on Radio 44.
Big up to all the crew them inside the place.
27 minutes past 8, and you are listening to us on Radio 44's 91.6 frequency, or watching live on radio44.co.ke. We are still in a conversation with CMS Daly Inamdar's Abdulhafeez and Gibran, and we're talking all about alternative
ADR.
dispute resolution.
There's two people in this world, the people who use the acronym and the people who say the whole thing.
So, Abdulhafeez, could you please tell us what are the different types of ADR?
There we go.
So there are many types of ADR, but the principal ones that we find being used a lot are basically negotiation, arbitration, and mediation. Each one is different in its own way, and I think just to make it easy for everyone to understand, you can take the example of two parties or two people fighting over an orange. Now, if they go to court, the court will decide that one person is entitled to that orange. And it might do so after such a long time that the orange might be rotten by the end of it. Okay. If they go to arbitration, you'll find that the end result might be quite similar, because there is an arbitrator who is deciding which party is right and saying, okay, you are entitled to the orange or you are entitled to the orange. But the process is much quicker, it's much less formal, much easier to understand. And because of all that, a lot cheaper as well. So you'll find that it's a quick resolution, albeit the same resolution. In negotiation, the parties would discuss how they would try and resolve, and maybe end up with half an orange each. Okay. And in mediation, you'll have a mediator who will talk to the parties together and separately over one or more sessions, and the mediator will try and push the parties towards the agreement, and he or she will try to understand what it is that the parties want out of it, because ADR is basically more of a desire-driven process than a rights-driven process, which a court would be looking at. So it's what do parties want. Now, in an orange, somebody might want the pulp and the juice. Another party might be interested in the rind. So a mediator will find that out, basically divide the orange up to say, you want the rind, you can have it. You want the pulp, you can have it. We have two happy people having resolved their dispute. So that's basically what you will find in ADR.
I really like the analogy of an orange. It makes it very simple to understand. So let's get back to this orange. Let's say that I got the pulp, but I wanted the peel, and that's what happened in my ADR. What can I do? Do I still have some recourse when it comes to going to court to overturn this decision? Gibran, maybe you can take this one.
Now, this will depend on the type of ADR mechanism that you've chosen. Hafeez has just talked about arbitration, mediation, and negotiation. If you're going down the arbitration route, it's usually arises from, in a commercial context, might be from typically a commercial agreement, which contains an arbitration clause. In this scenario, you then, there's a specific arbitrator that you go to, and he makes an award. The circumstances under which you may be able to then go to courts are limited by the Arbitration Act. We have an Arbitration Act in Kenya, and it provides the specific circumstances, which are if maybe the arbitrator went beyond the scope of the reference, or acted against public policy. But generally, there is a principle of finality of arbitral awards, subject to the limitations that I've just talked about, and mostly courts are reluctant to set aside an arbitrator's award. Mediation, Radhika, gives you a little bit more of flexibility, because, like we'll talk about further on, there is court-annexed mediation, which actually comes from cases which have been filed in court and are better suited for mediation. And again, the negotiation doesn't affect or prejudice your rights to go to court. So that again depends on what you choose as your ADR mechanism.
Thank you for that, Gibran. If you have any more questions for CMS Daly Inamdar, we're with them all the way till 9 a.m. So message us on 0758 123 444. Next up, we've got some Nasty C Major Lazer. I love this song in particular. Did you see what I did there? This is The Morning Fix on Radio 44. Good morning.
They told me everybody's 15 minutes in a different time zone.
Nidhi Chauhan sounds so different in this track. Range, I tell you, range. Good morning. You're tuned to Radio 44. And today we are being joined virtually by CMS Daly Inamdar. And we've been talking all about ADR, that's Alternative Dispute Resolution.
That is right. Now, let's say we've spoken about how this is away from court, right? But let's say my matter is in court. Can I still switch to ADR or not?
If you're already in court, then there are many ways in which ADR can still help you. Firstly, there is something called court annexed mediation, and now that has become the norm, particularly in our commercial courts, where every matter that's pending in court is reviewed before it goes to hearing. It is reviewed, and if it is found to be suitable to be sent for mediation, then the court will first mandate parties to go to mediation. And if that fails, they return to court. Of course, if they succeed, then their agreement is recorded in court. It becomes a judgment. They can enforce it. But even if they are not forced to go to court, parties can at any point either agree that they want to go to arbitration, for example, or they can apply to the court to say, can you send us to arbitration, because this can easily be dealt with by an arbitrator and it's taking too long here.
So if you are currently embroiled in a battle in court, it's not the last option. You have some other ways out of it. But one more question I have is, does ADR still need legal representation, or are we finally getting rid of those pesky lawyers? Let me know.
Certainly, you won't get rid of the lawyers so easily. You do need legal representation, even if you go by ADR. Remember, ADR processes, even from the description, they're different, but they're quite like your usual dispute resolution in court. And they have been developed at the end of the day by lawyers through the legal systems that have existed. So lawyers generally are very familiar with them. You'll find most arbitrators, mediators are also lawyers. A lot of our associates and our partners at CMS Daly Inamdar are also trained arbitrators or trained mediators, and that gives them a basic or a better basis and understanding of the whole process. So, and at the end of the day, even something like an arbitration is a legal process. So familiarity with the process and with how to present your case, legal representation definitely is required, even if you go to ADR.
I totally agree, especially with the last point of expressing your opinion. You know how you feel, but a lawyer really helps you mold it into a way that other people can now understand it. And it's nice to have someone who has a legal background by your side as you go through ADR.
You may not know what's happening.
You might not even know how to start the process. Forget finish it. So that is something CMS Daly Inamdar can help you with and really guide you through this process, so it is absolutely seamless. We're still with CMS until 9 a.m. So drop any more questions you have here. Up next, we've got a song I really like. It's 24K Golden and Ian Dior. It's Mood playing for you on The Morning Fix. Remember, you can watch us live on radio44.co.ke.
Why you always in the mood?
It's running up to 9 a.m. But we've already had a productive morning.
Yes.
We've been in conversation with CMS Daly Inamdar, and we've been talking all about ADR, that is Alternative Dispute Resolution. And we've learned so much today.
Quite a lot. In fact, Gibran and Abdulhafeez, thank you so much for joining us. You've really broken down ADR for us. Maybe, Gibran, you can just give us a closing statement on how CMS provides ADR services.
CMS has a very wide offering. We do have a dedicated dispute resolution department. At Daly and Inamdar, we have certainly been involved in a lot of litigation. We are also, we have handled a lot of arbitrations as well. So alternative dispute resolution is something that is straight up our alley. We've done this, for a long time. Commercial arbitrations, all sorts of arbitrations, we've handled them. We do have the ability to handle them. We've also been in scenarios where we've been referred to mediation, court annexed mediation, or what have you. And this is an area where we can certainly assist our clients, reach the goals that they want to achieve in terms of resolving their disputes.
Well, thank you so much again to the whole CMS Daly Inamdar team, and particularly Gibran and Abdulhafeez. One thing I really have noticed with our CMS interviews is they've broken the law down into very understandable bites.
Correct,
and
yes.
that's very important when you're talking about law and you don't really understand it. So a huge thank you for that. Keep it to Radio 44. Trial Tuesdays might be over, but the show is not. Bhargav, what do you have for us in the next hour?
Oh, there's a prank coming up.
There's a prank
There
coming
is a
up.
prank.
I like pranks on the Morning Fix. It's kind of becoming our brand.
Yes.
I don't know how I feel about that, but up next it is some Mika Singh. It's Moja Hi Moja playing for you on the Morning Fix.